Who will replace Tom Thibodeau as head coach of the New York Knicks? And is it even a good job? Two current veteran head coaches in the West show up in rumors. Plus, we're talking hidden advantages for the Thunder and the Pacers ahead of Game 1 of the NBA Finals. And is KD's trade value so low that Phoenix might consider running it back? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Ranson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories every day with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
So many days before the finals. I am now into, can Pascal Siakam not lose the ball versus Case and Wallace on cross switches and isolation in the second unit minutes when Tyrese Halliburton is not on the floor? That's where we have reached. It's a happy place, but probably need the games to start soon.
I love it. This is where I get into my nerdiest basketball takes, and I feel like we're going to get into a few of them on this show, so buckle up. From the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. Haize, how nerdy do you want to get?
Let's do it. Let's jump all the way in. We talk about Vorps. How about that? Let's do that.
Vorps? Some Schnorps? Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what we get to with the NBA Finals in just a moment. But we're going to start today in New York, where Tom Thibodeau is firing after 5 seasons, and a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals has set off a round of speculation on who was responsible for the firing and who will be the next head coach. We did a live reaction show yesterday. Make sure to check that out on the feed. But now that you've had some time to absorb this news, Matt, where's your head on the decision to move on from Tibbs?
There's been a lot of pushback, and I kind of get it, right? Like, I don't want to. I thought it was probably a good idea for them to move on. Talked about it yesterday on the emergency pod that there's all these things that he left on the table, but he was really successful. And I don't like when we make perfect the enemy of good. The bigger problem, I think, to me is that hearing that Michael Malone is likely not to be a candidate via NBA or via Knicks media outlets, and that Jay Wright, I don't think, is interested, according to Jeff Goodman. Now we're entering into a territory where I'm like, who are you going to get here? Because if you don't get somebody who's established and you just try and go Johnny Bryant, who's never been a head coach, a lot of respect for him, but that makes me really nervous, Haize.
Yeah, I mean, would it be similar to like Steve Kerr? Is that what they're trying to find their Steve Kerr to get them over the hump? I mean, I really did think Mike Malone makes a lot of sense for New York, and I'm surprised to hear that he may not be on the radar at all. But the Knicks are going to have to, they got to figure this out. They have the talent here, and you want to be able to get right back to contending, especially in the East. It's not going to have Boston for most of the season, not at their full power. So this is where the Knicks, they have to be very, very smart in who they bring in there as a head coach, because if you bring in a head coach that the team gets worse or whatever else, or they aren't ready to go and don't have the experience, then it can come back and be very ugly for you. So hopefully the Knicks find the right guy. As much as wishing well upon the Knicks is gonna be the reason why I get a phone call from my dad, but it is what it is there.
Oh boy. I want to talk more about who is being speculated for the job, but let's hear first from Locked On Knicks on the Alex Wolf specifically on why the regular season and the series wins weren't enough to save Tom Thibodeau.
I thought that moving on from Tibbs was the right move. I don't think that Tibbs has been particularly analytically minded, even though he pays lip service to it sometimes. And I think that the Knicks have done a lot to add analytics into their workflow, using advanced systems in their training facility to help guys like improve their shots and whatever. There's been obviously a huge uptick in their medical staff. I wonder if maybe they looked at this and said, we've got like a very state-of-the-art organization top to bottom, and yet we have a coach that doesn't seem like he's updating with the times as much as we would like in terms of just the style of ball the Knicks play, the fact that they had all the three-point shooters that they did on the team, and then just kind of progressively regressed throughout the year towards not shooting as many threes and not embracing like 5-out basketball, relying too heavily on just like principles of mid 2000s to early 2010s basketball.
All right, so Alex Wolf there speculating on a motive for this firing, but maybe it was multiple motives or multiple factions at work here. Ian Begley reported that James Dolan sat in on player exit meetings, particularly a few like select exit meetings with players. We know that Leon Rose was formerly a big fan and advocate for Tibbs in the past. Jalen Brunson publicly supported him, and yet he's gone. Haize, do you feel like that this has been a good process for the Knicks so far? Was this a Game of Thrones type of process where warring factions are sort of going back and forth and one guy, you know what happened in Game of Thrones to somebody that tried to get power?
Using the Game of Thrones analogies is perfect for like talking about Tibbs, but no, it seems like everybody's on the same page in regards to this. Like I understand that the players, Jalen Brunson talked very positively about him and things like that, but like once Leon Rose and everybody sat down and made that decision, I think they all identified the same thing and that they see this as their opportunity. They cannot let this go by. The New York Knicks have not been great over the last 25 years. They've had some good seasons, but they haven't been great. And so they really want to capitalize on this time period now by getting in the right voice who's going to be able to maybe use their roster better, prepare them better. And I can't be mad at them for that. I think that's the right decision, but it does seem like they were all on that same page.
There's been reports that this was that, like, at least they are putting out messaging this was Leon Rose, that this was Leon Rose. What I think is more interesting about that stakeholders meeting is that the core players were brought in to have that kind of discussion. And that to me, I think is just kind of relevant with, I don't think no player ever wants to take the hit. Like just once it'd be nice to have a player be like, yes, I got him fired and I hope he burns in hell. Like one time I would like, for a player to be like, yeah, we didn't get along, didn't think he was the best for us. I'm the best player. This is what I thought we needed to happen. I am just kind of curious who was on which side. That to me, the player side of this, I think is a lot more interesting than Dolan, who has tried to at least stay off of the sidelines a little bit more in recent years.
Mark Stein, in his Substack this morning, wrote this: two head coaches who are not currently available but said to interest the Knicks, according to league sources, are Dallas's Jason Kidd and Houston's Ime Udoka. That triggered a debate on Locked On Mavericks. Take a listen to that.
I don't think there's any chance that he leaves because now you're in it. You got your guy Anthony Davis. You've got Kyrie, who you love, who Kyrie's favorite player growing up was Jason Kidd. You just got the number one pick. By the time Cooper Flagg becomes a star, then he's the one saying, hey, we got to keep Jason Kidd and sticking up for you and all that kind of stuff.
I think he goes, I think he takes it and he pulls a Rick Carlisle. He looks at greener grass on the other side. He reads the writing on the wall ahead of time and is like, hey, I might be on the hot seat. If all of this really does go up in flames, then I'm going to be the first one before Nico. And I just think the Knicks is a better situation. You get to go to the East. I'm just looking at it and saying, what's more likelihood you getting fired after next season or in the middle of next year? Dallas, or if you took the New York job this summer? Dallas.
All right, Matt, is the Knicks job a good job, and is it good enough to pull away a coach like Jason Kidd or Ime Udoka from another situation where you have good talent, good enough talent, and resources?
Hang on, I'm just looking to see if he's with CAA or not. I'll get back to you. No, so I don't think this job is good enough. You'd have to deal with Dolan. They expended all of their draft assets for Mikal Bridges. You have some outs here because they do have good players to trade, so you can kind of pivot. But there is a high you have to come in and outdo a conference finals position here. And that's in New York. That's a lot of stress. You have to outdo a conference finals position for a team that probably overachieved. So like, even if you come in next year and the team is better in the regular season and better in the postseason from a overall process standpoint, if you don't make the finals, then you did not do better than your predecessor. And I think that's a really tough kind of look here. I have no idea where Kidd is in all of this. I don't know what role he had in the Luka trade. I don't know if he was against it. I don't know how he feels now he sees the backlash. I don't know. What I do know is that Jason Kidd has a remarkable ability to always come out as a little bit better on the other side. So regardless of what happens, the situation for Kidd will be better when he gets done with whatever decision he makes than the alternative.
The Kidd one is interesting. I don't think there's any chance of the Udoka thing, but the Kidd one is interesting just because of the state of the Mavericks. Would they be willing to allow the Knicks to even meet with Jason Kidd, considering, Cooper? They got Cooper now. They're getting Cooper, so maybe Kidd wants to stay there and be a part of that. So maybe that's something that changes it. But I trust that Jason Kidd is going to make the best decision for him. And he's going to look over and completely evaluate it. If you want to try to compete now, great, go to the Knicks. If not, stay where you are and develop something and get to be the first coach for a player that a lot of people are thinking is going to be the next great player in the NBA. So I don't think it's a win-win for Jason Kidd, but I do think the Knicks job is a good job. I think it's a good job. You got a lot of talent there. You don't have a lot of the assets, so you do have to compete right away. But I think the talent there may be enough to make it intriguing for a lot of coaches.
I don't know what Jason Kidd's role in the Luka trade was either. I do know that in the press conference afterwards, he looked like an American captured in foreign land. Like he looked like he was smiling, but I'm not sure what was exactly behind that smile. All right, coming up, we turn our attention back to the NBA Finals and the hidden advantages each team has heading into Game 1. Plus, is the price for trading for Kevin Durant so low now, it's not even worth dealing for him anymore? That's coming up on Locked On NBA. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk about something that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's men's mental health. There's this pressure, right, to always keep it together, to perform, to provide, and never show weakness. But the truth is, real strength comes from opening up and taking care of your mental well-being. Every year, 6 million men in the United States experience depression, and many go undiagnosed. But talking to someone, a friend, a loved one, or a therapist can make a huge difference. Therapy isn't just for crisis moments. It's great for learning how to set boundaries, building healthy coping tools, and becoming the best version of yourself. If your schedule is packed as tight as mine, you're going to love BetterHelp because you can connect from anywhere, you can switch therapists at any time, and you can fit sessions into your schedule with just one click. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Yesterday, we talked about star power as it relates to the NBA Finals, SGA versus Halliburton. Today, we're going to be talking about hidden advantages for each team, starting with Oklahoma City. They have the NBA MVP. They had a dominant regular season, but Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder says pay attention to the challenges they faced in the postseason.
Thunder have been a buzzsaw. They've been this juggernaut that I think that Nuggets series really helped them grow up. And it is one of the first storylines is just how both teams handle this opportunity in this spotlight, because the Thunder have had to get here by navigating the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, by taking on a Minnesota Timberwolves team that does have some teeth, and they were able to dispatch them in 5 games by taking away their top 2 options. And Indiana has gotten here through a Bucks team that didn't really have a ton of guys besides Giannis, but like the team, the entire season for Milwaukee has been a bit of a disappointment. They took on the Cavs, who were limping a little bit, but still an impressive series win. And then New York, who hadn't beat a good team until the playoffs, and they, to their credit, handled the Boston Celtics even with a fully healthy Tatum. Like that Tatum injury did not help and aid the Knicks' chances of that series. So it's a unique place. Indiana has not faced a team this good, especially defensively, all playoffs long.
So this is interesting because I think it's one of the things when you look at the Thunder, you could look at either way. Like Haize, do you look at that 7-game series with the Nuggets and see a Thunder team that grew and learned and came out stronger? Or did you see something in that series that you think, hey, Indiana could potentially exploit that to their advantage?
No, I mean, I think the Thunder have grown a little bit in this. Like, as far as just keep in mind, like it's not like they've ever gone on a finals run before. So they are learning in this, I think, over the course of the series and adapting, taking some of the punches of Denver. What Indiana can exploit, I don't think it's changed a lot. I do think that Indiana's going to have to play definitely to their strengths and hope that they're going to be able to play enough defense in this and not turn the ball over. But the OKC Thunder, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I do feel like it's a team that's grown over this playoff run as much as you can, but this is going to be the real test here in the finals.
I'm of two minds because on the one hand, you're down 2-1. It's a close game, fourth quarter in game 4 in Denver. And they come out ahead of that one. And they broke the idea that OKC can't compete in the clutch. That in the clutch, the Nuggets were going to be able to out-execute them. And they talked about learning how to calm down in that moment. And I think Dagnall in particular learned a lot about how to talk to them in those situations and not get so rattled. You remember like the game 1 fouling up 3 and that disaster, like got away from some of that. Like they were able to keep their process, but calm down enough to execute if the game does get close. On the other hand, like because the Nuggets made it close we're supposed to be like, this was a monumental challenge. Guys, they fired their coach and their GM a week before the playoffs started. Their defense was bottom 10. Their rotation was 6 dudes, and one of them had a broken hand and was Russell Westbrook. Come on, man. Like, this is not, you didn't take out the 2017 Warriors here. You took out a tough team with a really great player who honestly couldn't figure you out and was too concerned with flailing for officiating calls because of how physical you are. This challenge is different, but I do think it's less. Like the Pacers, I don't know. I go back and forth on this about whether the Pacers are a better or worse team than the Nuggets. I think that they're better, but the challenge is different. I think we'll find out in game 1 or game 2, if Indiana can make this a close game, what does that look like? Because the Pacers have been so dynamite in those situations, and the Thunder have figured a little bit of that out, but I think I got to see it a little bit more.
A big storyline in Pacers-Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals was the Pacers trying to dictate the pace and the terms of engagement offensively against the Knicks. Do you feel like, Matt, you covered that series closely, do you feel like in the Nuggets-Thunder series that the Nuggets in their wins were able to dictate the pace and the terms of engagement with the Thunder?
No, they just didn't turn the ball over as much. Like this is all it is. Do you turn the ball over? This is everything. The Thunder's half-court offense is not amazing. It's good. It's not bad. They're not mediocre. They're good. But it's not amazing. If you make it into like a, hey, let's go possession for possession, you can win. The problem is that OKC is like, we're not going to go for possession. We're going to create 3 possessions, and you're going to create 1. And that's how we're going to win. So that to me is like what the real key here is. If anything, and I'll tell you, Denver wanted to play faster with a shorter rotation with older guys, and that's tough. They were good at it during the regular season, but that's tough for that situation. The one thing I noticed about OKC throughout the course of the year is that if you speed them up, they get a little rattled. Half-court offense in particular gets a little shaky. You got to speed them up a little bit. Indiana's good at that. The key is that Indiana's got to do it without turning the ball over. This is the battle that's going to go on every single possession in the series.
All right, let's flip it to the Pacers' advantage, which according to Locked On Pacers host Tony East and his guest today, Eddie Garrison of the Pacers Radio Network, lies not in what you know for sure about the Pacers, but what you don't know.
When you look at Indiana, they want to play the random style that you've talked about throughout the course of the last 3 years, ever since they acquired Tyrese Halliburton. It could be Andrew Nembhard, where it could be Tyrese, where it could be Pascal, or it could be TJ McConnell, where it could be Benedict Mathurin, whomever. Initiating the offense gives them such an advantage just because you don't know which guy is going to be bringing up the court, which one's going to get them in whatever action they want to get to. And it allows them, the Pacers, from a defensive perspective, when you look at Oklahoma City, to evaluate what they're trying to do and try to counter it before, as you're pushing the ball off the court.
The pace advantage the Pacers typically have will be neutralized to some extent, not completely, but some extent in the series. If it's a half-court game, having more initiators will be very important. Having ways to score on every trip will be even more massive than it would have been in other series.
Okay, so Tony, they're hitting on some of the things that you were talking about there, Matt and Haize. One of the ways the Pacers have to start an offensive possession is to give the ball to the Eastern Conference MVP, Pascal Siakam, and say, go get me a bucket. We talked a lot about the 2 stars, the 2 number 1s in yesterday's episode. let's talk about who has the number 2, the Robin advantage in this series. Haize, do the Pacers have that advantage with Pascal or the Thunder with Jalen Williams?
Man, that's an amazing question. I'd still say Jalen Williams has the advantage there because Jalen is so good. And not to say that Pascal isn't, but to fight against my own point there, Pascal's the one that's been here before. He's the one that has won a title before. And while, his role was a lot different on that Toronto Raptors team that did win a title, in this type of playoff, you want to double down on your experience. So I wouldn't be surprised if anybody says Siakam. I'll say Jalen Williams though here.
I mean, this to me is another battleground. If the Pacers can limit the turnovers, they got a chance. The next thing is, can Siakam be better than Jalen Williams? I think this is a fascinating matchup because Siakam's a lot closer to Aaron Gordon, who gave Jalen Williams a lot of problems in that Nuggets series. If you want to make comparisons, that's one of the few ones I think you could make between these teams. Now, Siakam hasn't been as good of a defender this year. He's got it. He's capable of it. So we'll see kind of what happens. But this to me is like a big determining factor. If J-Dub doesn't shoot well, that's a real big problem for them. If they're able to give him space and help off, and J-Dub's not able to punish him, that's a factor here. I was listening to Caitlin Cooper, who does such an amazing job of covering the Pacers in her podcast with Sam Folk, and one of the things they were talking about is the possibility of Jalen guarding Miles Turner and then switching him on to Tyrese Halliburton. My next thought there is, well, wait, okay, if that happens, who guards Siakam? Because J-Dub took the primary assignment on Siakam in the regular season. If they put Caruso or Casey Wallace in a small ball matchup versus Siakam, can he drive on them, draw fouls, score without turning it over? Siakam has one of the lowest turnover rates on isolations amongst players with qualified possessions, both regular season and postseason. I'm terrified for Andrew Nembhard in the series. Terrified for that young man. But Siakam might be able to punish them. And if you start punishing it and the Thunder have to, anything you do to force OKC to have to rotate to get out of their comfort zone is a huge win for Indiana and opens things up way more into the kind of series that they need it to be.
And Tony Haize brought this up on that episode that Jalen Williams has had an up and down playoff so far. I mean, if you look at the series against Minnesota, he shot 46% from 3, 49% from the field overall. Against Denver in that 7-game series, 23% from 3 and 37.5% overall. So which Jalen Williams is going to show up in the finals? That could be part of the deciding factor of this series, or at least how long it goes. All right, coming up, I want to hit on something that Haize did and get Matt's response to it. Siakam's experience in the finals, and we'll throw Rick Carlisle into this as well. How much will that experience show up for Indiana against the Oklahoma City Thunder? Does it matter at all? I'll ask them that ahead. Plus, we talk about the ongoing talks in Phoenix to trade Kevin Durant. Stay with us. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business like me, every missed call could be a missed opportunity. Think about it. Last time that you had a service emergency, did you wait for a call back? Probably not. That's why you need OpenPhone. It's the #1 business phone system that streamlines your customer communication and helps you scale, all from an app on your phone or computer. I love that I don't need to carry 2 phones, business and personal. It's all one phone now with OpenPhone. I can manage business calls and text from one app, whether I'm at my desk or I'm out on the go. My favorite feature is the shared inbox. Your whole team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. Plus, they have AI call transcripts and summaries. They're absolute game changers for staying on top of follow-ups and customer interaction. You never have to drop the ball when you have OpenPhone. And right now, OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months. Just go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another provider, they will even port your number over for free. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. Don't miss more Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. So Haize brought up Pascal Siakam's experience in an NBA Finals. Rick Carlisle also has some finals experience, really the only 2 that have finals experience among both the Pacers and the Thunder. Matt, how do you think that will show up? Well, will it make a difference? And particularly if this series goes a little bit longer than people are expecting.
Yeah, if it goes longer, you lean towards Carlisle because, one, Rick's able to kind of see, he's got a good sense of how much he needs to push. Like one thing I'm really interested in is how much he throws a kitchen sink at them in the game one. Does he settle in and be like, look, we'll go in, we'll kind of see how it goes and we'll feel it out from there? Or does he go like, no, I want to steal this one. Like, let's go in. I'm going to throw zone. I'm going to throw weird stuff at them. I'm going to throw box and one at Shea. I'm going to throw double teams. We're going to do unconventional lineups and we're going to go small. How much does he get outside of normal game script to steal game one? The longer the series goes, Rick is just more likely to make adjustments. Rick's in the underdog spot here, so he knows he can. Rick's got a roster with a lot of optionality. They're different. The Thunder are just going to do what they're going to do. And Dags, I think, is going to have a hard time getting away from script formula. His big move is like, okay, I'm not going to start both bigs together, but they're still going to play together for a lot. There's not a lot of change-ups I see Dags making, even if the series, like, let's say things get crazy and they're down in the series. I still think Dags is going to stick with his primary kind of game plan that he's had the entire season and not want to change it up.
Yeah, I think Rick Carlisle is going to do some crazy stuff. I think he's not. I don't know if he throws the whole kitchen sink at them in game one, but I do think you're going to see some things that the Pacers just haven't done. In other series to throw the Thunder off their game. Rick Carlisle has had this team so well prepared over the course of basically every series in this playoff. So I think they're going to come in with the game plan in game one. They're going to try to execute that game plan as best they can, and then in game two and going forward, that's where you're going to see the crazy stuff start coming from Rick Carlisle. So I think game one's probably going to be a little bit more straightforward, but after that, that's where that experience is going to really show. I think Rick Carlisle is the biggest X factor in this series for the Pacers, and that's bigger than almost anything else on the court. I think that highly of his coaching. I think he's done that good of a job coaching throughout these playoffs. He's a huge X factor for the Pacers.
And Haize, if Rick Carlisle is able to pull off this upset with the Pacers and get his second title, do you think that changes his legacy meaningfully? Do we put him in a different level of conversation when we're talking about best NBA coaches of all time?
I absolutely do. If they're able to defeat this Thunder team with the momentum that they play with, I get it. They've never won a title. This is their first time there, but they're wildly favored in this series. If they're able to win a title here, yeah, I think it does change the way we look at Rick Carlisle. It has to.
He takes out the 2011 Triad Heat and the 2025 Thunder. Yeah, it changes things dramatically. He will go down as a legend despite only 2 titles, unless he wins more. If that happens, it's going to be that will be absolutely insane if he is able to pull it off.
He becomes the Giant Slayer. That will be forever his sort of legacy in the NBA. All right, the Phoenix Suns are still without a head coach, but whoever they hire, they are still widely expected to part with Kevin Durant. But the question is, what can they realistically expect in return? Here's Locked On Suns reacting to new reporting on the discussions that are being had.
Kelly Iko, who covers none other than the Houston Rockets and has done so for a long time, he had an interesting chunk in his article basically saying to the effect, Ben, that the Suns' price has gone down over the course of the offseason. He said that regaining full control of their draft capital is important. Since the conclusion of the season, Houston has fielded several calls from Phoenix, who have since gradually lowered their asking price for Durant.
How far down has it fallen? I know gradually is a subjective term. I feel like you and I are pretty close to what we think Kevin Durant is going to go for. I still think it's a young player, maybe 2, and a pick. Is it lower? Is it lower than that? Because at that point, man, when do you just start talking about running it back with KD?
Okay, Matt, what do you think? Are you in agreement there with Ben Garcia that if it goes lower than that you have to start thinking about, all right, forget cutting our losses. We just have to run this back and see where we go?
Okay, so I think it's interesting. There's been reports that KD's likely to get moved before the draft. The question is going to be, does another team come in? Like the Suns can wait here. They don't need to get this done immediately. Right, especially if the Rockets are kind of working them down on it. Wait, and then see if a team comes in at the last second and is like, no, we like. If the Sixers come in and are like, hey, we got a third team for PG, you take back dead cap space, and we'll give you the third pick. That's pretty good, right? Like that. It just takes one team to raise that market back up. So you've got some time, I think, to get there. If they're so insistent on getting theirs back, I don't know that this like. You should not be trying to get one back. You should be trying to get multiple back, regardless of what that is. Because also, if you get your draft capital back, those are future assets. Are those guys going to help Devin Booker win a title? No. the Suns are too stuck in a middle place here, I think, to be taking halfway measures on the KD trade.
Yeah, if the focus is really just getting their own picks back, that's going to limit them regardless. Like, they're going to have to open this up. Like, if that's what the Houston Rockets are playing hardball on that, now you got to go out and start a bidding war, because to Matt's point, all it takes is one team to offer something more, and then maybe you get the Rockets in on a higher price. They have the young players, they have the picks, they have all of that, and the Houston Rockets make a lot of sense here for as a partner. But if you limit yourself just to the Houston Rockets because you just value getting your picks back that much, that's where you start making Nico Harrison level mistakes in this. I don't know if it could be that bad, but so you can't just do that. So hopefully the Suns realize that, and they open this search up to more than just the Houston Rockets to get their own picks back.
All right, if you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks so much to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, until an NBA champion is crowned. And we're so close. We're almost there. One more sleep until the NBA Finals. Rest easy. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.